Welcome back to Tips Over Tea. This is episode 19. I am Nicole, your host. We had a great pleasure of speaking with Angela today. She's a passionate advocate for women who run things. And with working with leaders, we have a tendency to put ourselves on the back burner. So she supports women in that way. And I just think it's a great conversation. So if you're a woman leader or you know someone who is a woman leader, make sure you guys just grab your tea and listen in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 19 of Tips Over Tea. I'm excited to have Angela Herbert White with us today. Thank you so much for joining.
I'm so excited to be here and to be talking with you. Thank you, Nikki.
You're welcome. I was interested just in reading and learning more about you. You really help women like step into their power and find their own voice, mostly in the workplace, I believe, but it of course bleeds over into other areas of their life, right?
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
tell me more about what you do and how you help?
Sure. I work with women who who run things, and that could be anything really. So it can be a team, it can be an organization, a business, it can be a family, it can be because we run all kinds of things, whether we want to call ourselves leaders or not, right? So I work with mostly women and a few awesome men who just know that there's got to be a better way than what they're doing to work better, to live better, to be happier. And so through our work together, we find ways to help each of my clients. I say lead more confident. They say actually lead more confidently, serve more powerfully, and live more joyfully along the way. So yeah, that connection between when I'm happy at work, I know that that's also going to be bleeding over into how I'm happier in my life.
Yeah, because we spend a lot of our time at work. If we like have a traditional job where we're going into the office and we have teams and employees or coworkers and all that, we spend a lot of time with folks. So if you can be happy at work, then definitely I can see how it would bleed over into
Yeah.
areas of your life. Um, Lead confidently, like that's a huge thing. A lot of times we like question
Yeah.
how we're leading or are we doing things right. So how does can you give me just a little bit like what is lead confident, like what are they grasping or embodying when they get to that point where they feel
Sure. Yeah. So when I think of lead confidently, I think of leading from the things that make you uh, kind of working at your best, your strengths, feeling like, yes, I have a very particular set of skills. I'm at my personal best in how I'm doing things. And honestly, like, I feel like, yes, we spend a lot of time at work, but also if we're finding, whether it's at work or at home, or if we're finding things that really tap into or clue us into, yes, I'm at my personal best in this way, of course, it's going to make us like just our lives richer, our work lives, but also our personal lives richer in that way. So when we're talking about leading confidently, I work with people who are at different stages in their leadership development. And when I think about it, I've been trying to find a way to kind of articulate what it can look like. And you mentioned it a second ago, Nikki, where it's like when we start out as leaders, we're kind of not like, real, who me? You want me to, I'm supposed to lead? And how do I know what to do? And so we look to inspiration. We look to people we admire and kind of the greats as leaders, and we find quotes and all that sort of thing. But we also do some imitation of maybe our favorite boss over time, or some people we know who really we admire the way they've led. And that's totally cool. Like getting some muscle memory, practicing, trying some things on. I know this person does it this way. Let me try it on. But then there's a point in time when it's like, well, I'm my own leader. I got to find my way to my own leadership. And so there's this next level of confidence where I know I can do these things and people like it. I know that I will be even better if I'm making those things mine, or if I'm identifying the things that are truly mine and create my own path to leadership. So that's when confidence just takes a whole other level and a jump up there, not only for yourself, but for the people you're serving. So just all around, just making yourself feel more whole in your leadership, and really making you more impactful as a leader too.
I could see that. I'm sure all of us have experienced the different types of leaders, like ones who My favorite. The boss said this. I'm like, aren't you the one in charge? What? I should just talk to the other guy then. And you kind of like
Yeah.
it creates a very I wouldn't say hostile, but it's like an awkward environment when they aren't leading confidently, right? And
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to get to motivate or inspire your employees to do things when you aren't really stepping up to the plate, so to speak. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
awesome. So, what are some steps or tools you use, if you could, if it's not too proprietary or whatever,
Yeah.
to shift into who they are as a leader?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, and I think what you said a minute ago too is that point where you feel like you sense when a leader isn't quite being as confident or as focused or as certain in their steps, right? And as the leader who maybe isn't as confident, which happens to all of us from time to time, it puts us on kind of shaky ground. So helping ourselves, recognizing we're on shaky ground, recognizing we want to be more focused, we want to do better at our leadership, um, is is a really important step to then figuring out what it is. So when I work with clients is help them find their ways to how they show up best. Yes, we can look at, and we do look at, what are the ways they're strong, what's the feedback that they've been given, and also what are the things that make them happiest about their work, about when they just know they're connected to how they do best. And then we grow from there. So, let's tap into those things. Let's identify those things. Really, really important, particularly with women, is helping to separate other people's expectations and messages for how you should be a leader from your own internal messages, how you know you're best as a leader. That's a huge part of my work is helping to turn down the volume of other people's expectations and turn up your own volume of the messages you can send yourself, which perpetuate your strengths, which perpetuate your confidence, perpetuate your impact and how you serve. So that's huge, is turning up those messages that you have internally that are going to give you that energy you need to go forward.
Yeah, I can imagine so. And it'll also help you not try to do everything. Like you learn how to call on other people's strengths. You start identifying yours and you can identify other people's, and you can place people too, like where they would excel.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. Can I give you an example of a client who I think probably embodies this a whole lot?
Yeah.
I talk about her all the time. So because I sing her praises, she's wonderful. So there's a client that I've been working with. I was working with her before COVID, and then things kind of intensified during COVID. But what we did a whole lot was exactly this, like tapping into what makes her leadership really, really work, and what is it that about who is she as she shows up to as a leader that really, really embodies trust within her team, that really just kind of helps everyone feel like they can do the good work that they're doing too. And so we were on that path, and then COVID happened. And then because things shifted so much and everyone has still so much need, so much about what's going on in their personal lives, that whether they want to or not, it shows up at work too. She her leadership style is so very much about compassion. She is a relational leader. She is a compassionate leader. She felt so strongly and still feels so strongly everything that is going on in her team's lives, and she wants to honor that. So when COVID happened and crisis happened, and you start listening to how's everybody else doing this, some of those external expectations and messages started kind of creeping back in. So we had to stop and say, okay, wait, let's get back to like who you are as a leader, what you know you're going to do best. If you're already off your footing and you go further off your footing because other people are telling you to do a certain way and it's not the best way for you, that's not going to work for anybody. So let's get back. So the messages she was getting from other people were things like, no, you're spending too much time talking with all your team members. You got to just get the work done, or you're being too soft, too lenient. They still have to perform. You can't be doing, like, I know they need to go to a doctor appointment. I know they're really, really worried about COVID. I know they've never been on Zoom before and they're trying to figure out Zoom. But you got to you have to directly tell them, get it done, get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
And that did not sit with her at all. It just didn't make sense. So we worked together and she turned up her own volume, and said things like, I lead humans, not robots. I got to do it that way. She was able to stop and recognize, no, when I spend more time with my staff, I know them better. I feel more connected, and I feel like I'm helping to kind of keep us all in the circle, even though we're so disconnected. She was able to not just give the message to herself, but to her team too. I hear you. I see you. And I want to help you figure out how to make all these pieces work, and including the things you need to do for work as well. So through those messages and turning those messages up louder, now when we check in, it's things like how well her team is doing, how connected they feel, even though they've been so far apart physically, how the trust is so much greater that people feel like when they're in meetings, when they're talking, they can say what they need to say, they can voice problems, they can voice solutions, they feel comfortable proposing innovations, things that they've never thought of before, because this experience they've gone through together with this compassionate relational leader who has stepped into that for herself. It's just that much better for the work that they're all doing together. So I get so excited to see not just that she's getting these results, but that she's more connected with who she is and the strong leader she is when she leads with compassion too. Yeah. So I could tell I get excited about it as well.
Yeah, it is. And another things that we tend to not think about is when you are able to fully embody who you are in the workplace, like you reduce cognitive load. So you're like not as tired in the evenings when you go home, because you're able to get in flow, you're enjoying your environment, you're not exhausted from all of the stuff that happened at work today, and you have more resiliency around things too.
Yeah, and your energy is greater. It also is greater because your team is going to work better. And when your team works better, you don't feel like you're carrying their load too, or that you need to do their work, because everybody is lifted to a point where they get to do their stuff, you get to do your stuff. And at the end of the day, you feel really good that you can trust that they're taking care of their things too, because you're all connected. You're all kind of on the same page about things. And so that also gives you some energy and some ability to go work out, or to just have a quiet time without your brain kind of racing and thinking of all the things. I mean, those days happen too, but really you get to have that that stillness and the quiet and whatever you need to have when you leave the day from work.
Yeah. When you talk about work-life balance, that is a good way to balance out work and life, is to not be taking on everybody's stuff and to actually be walking authentically into who you are and lead from who you are. That's really
yeah. So I think that's that can end up being a bit of a challenge for a lot of women too, is that, not taking on everybody else's stuff.
Yeah.
And the particular client I'm talking about, that is a thing that happens where, because you're so compassionate, because there's a relational piece, you feel like you want to be there with them. And so finding your way to, what does that mean to be who I am, and also let them be who they are and not feel like you need to take care of them, is so important. And then there is a leadership thing that happens where there's a time in the beginning of somebody working with you, or even when they're going through some sort of struggle, where you do need to kind of walk a little more closely alongside them for a while.
Sure.
And support them. And that's like giving yourself permission to do that again. Like outside voices might be saying, don't micromanage, or, you got to let them do their thing. And that's true. But if there's something inside you that's going, you know what, I think for a little while, I need to give them a little closer support. I think for a little while, I need to be a little more in tune to maybe even the small steps, so I can celebrate them with them. I can honor them. listening to that voice means that there's also a day and time where you don't have to be so close, and they do much better work when you do start realizing, when they start feeling comfortable and confident, and you've messaged what you need to message, you've communicated to them what they need, they're really, really clear.
Yeah.
And they can just thrive at that point too. But we got to give ourselves permission sometimes to even be a little closer in that way, where maybe other messages are saying, no, you can't, you're the leader, you got to be top down about this. That's not always the case. So yeah, that's a thing I think that happens with women too.
Yeah. It's our nurturing spirit.
Yeah.
Thank you, nature.
And I think it's also that as more and more women come into leadership roles, we are shifting what it looks like. So the way it used to be done, or the way it's always been done, there's a whole lot that works about that, but there's also a whole lot that's missing.
Yeah.
And so as we come into our own and be who we are as leaders, the richer the workplace gets to be as a result, the richer we all get to be for the experience. So again, work-life balance, right? Being able to feel more balanced at work because you're not trying to fit in somebody else's shoes. You're feeling more competent in the way, and even beyond competence, you feel like you're kind of in your zone of genius about how you're doing your work. And everyone else, that radiates out into the workplace as well. But it's sometimes as a challenge to get to those first steps. And for a lot of women, like I'll work with women who just kind of say, I hear you, I want to do this. I want to be able to be more myself. My workplace might not necessarily be so welcoming of that. So we then talk through what are the steps, or what is the strategy, or how might you have small ways, not going in and kind of, tearing the place apart and say, you got to do it, but how might there be a strategy that helps you to come over time into yourself in a way that is very, very clear how much better everyone is because you are being the leader that you truly are.
I love that. And that is a good point, like, especially because, my world is usually like government. That ship takes forever to turn around. But there's still you meet exceptional leaders, and it's because they have embodied who they are. And so learning how to insert yourself, and of course take baby steps towards it, because people don't, or change is just scary. Like, even if it's good change, it's still like it's unknown. So I like that you work with people to step into that, even if it's not necessarily something that is the tradition or the standard, so to speak, at where they are currently. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we can make major leaps, and when people are in positions and are ready to make major leaps, man, we can do that. We can also find a way to the seeds we can plant along the way. And I think it's so interesting that there are times that when you shift your thought, when you shift your perspective on what is and isn't expected in your workplace, and you give yourself permission to plant a little seed, that little seed becomes really refreshing to everyone else. That little seed also can mean that, say you're in a meeting and you reframe or rephrase the way everybody says like the way people talk, the culture or the speak in your workplace. That shift opens up new thoughts, opens up new connections with each other, opens up new energy that then shifts to new ideas, new ways that we all work together. I love when I can make a change that's kind of like, it's almost like a secret. But then you can stop and you go, oh, okay. So if I can plant that little seed and everybody really, it worked. Then you can kind of plant the next one or grow it from there. So you get to do more and more of it too. And I love helping women find the way to their own strategy for making that work, whether it's over time or immediate. It's really fulfilling, but I think it's refreshing. I love when I'm working with a woman who, my favorite thing in the world in my coaching is when I can see on her face, you mean I can do that?
Yeah.
and it's like light all of a sudden opens up. Okay. Oh, that feels so much more real to me and more natural to me. So that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love the aha light bulb moment. Like I get that with my clients too. Of course, we're talking about something different, but still, it's just like it's hope. It's your imagination growing. It's your creative mind getting to work, and it's like, holy crap! Never thought. Let's do this.
Yes.
It's such a beautiful thing to witness, for sure.
Yes. And then the possibilities, isn't it so great? Like the possibilities that come from there, where you can see that light bulb, but then it's like all the unfolding that happens and everything that kind of lays out in front of you. Like,
Mhm.
if I make this shift, that means I just open the door to all these possible directions I can go and all this domino effect that can occur from there.
Mhm. Have you ever? This is random, but have you ever worked with someone who discovered that their leadership style would just not fit in that organization, and they how do you handle that? Because you don't tell anybody to quit their job.
Yeah,
Like
right.
how do you work through that? That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't tell anybody they need to quit their job. I do want to make sure that what I'm doing is honoring the strengths that they bring and giving them a time and a space to be who they are and to process what how they're feeling and also what they need to do next.
Mhm.
Um, in the time we have together. So if the work environment is not one that feels safe or feels like they really can be who they are, let's create that time
Mhm.
to really think through the next steps. If what sometimes what comes is, you know what, no, I'm going to stay where I am right now. I'm going to find ways to plant those seeds.
Mhm.
I'm going to find ways, I'm going to give myself a timeline so that I have an exit strategy, but it's down the road.
Yeah.
And we'll do that, and we'll make that, whatever works best and feels best for the client. Then there are other times when it's like, you know what, this is not working today. It's not going to work tomorrow. It's not going to work next year. And I need to be me now. I know I have so much more to give.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, we'll do the tactical strategy piece of what that looks like, plan the transition, plan the exit, rehearse the resignation, whatever it needs to be.
Yeah.
Um, and then also make sure along the way we are keeping on track with becoming who you know you can be, because guess what, when you're who you are, the next opportunity is going to find itself to you, and you will be so happy with how you are. You're just going to surprise yourself with how much you're able to do once you're not in an environment that feels like it's forcing you into this mold that actually doesn't fit you anymore. You get to be who you are, and that's just, yeah, that energy unfolds from there.
That's so cool. Yeah, that is putting the intention out there, freeing yourself up from the googly gawk, and it allows the other stuff to come and be visible, or you could see it. Like if you're too busy trying to be something else, you can't see the other stuff that is calling your name
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
So when we're talking about tips, so yeah, that's a conversation that I have with clients. I think it's really important to make sure you have a time and space to think and think through, process through whatever outside of the gobbledygook, as you said. And so, like, clients, we talk about going for a run or going and just meditating, whatever it is you need to do to remove yourself, to get back and remember who you are, so that the next decisions, the next thoughts you have come from yourself and not from that gobbledygook, whatever expectations outside yourself.
mhm.
Um, it's really important to make sure you're claiming that space for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. That is important. A friend of mine always, if I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed, he's like, go be quiet somewhere. I'm like, okay, you're right. Touche.
Yeah.
That's huge. I'm curious too, because I know we're 6.5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Um, have you ever had a client come back and say, like, after they've gotten themselves straight at work, so to speak, like, has their home life improved, like relationships with kids and spouse or
Yeah.
family?
Yeah, definitely. Um, Most of the time. So when I started doing the work that I do now, it was out of, I had been managing people, um, and really coming from a coaching perspective as a manager, even before I was like officially called a coach. And
Mhm.
so the coaching work I did was at first very work related. I went ahead and got ICF certified as a coach because I wanted to be sure that I had the skills, the tools necessary to show up for them, yes, in on their work, but also in their personal, and how to connect those things.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I'll have a client come and say, you know what, I need to think through a better strategy for my time management. And it turns out that what actually needs to be addressed first, they decide, not me, is I need to be sure I'm claiming time on my everyday calendar for exercise, and I need to stop allowing my family to kind of take over their time with what they need. So I got to set that boundary. And so, yes, very often, whatever, again, your strengths are your strengths in whatever environment you're in, and your lessons can be applied in all areas of your life. So, yeah, whether you're learning it in your home life, whether you're learning it at work, it is making you a stronger person who's more connected to who you truly are. And so, yes, it's going to, it will most of the time impact, yes, your work life, but also your personal life too.
That's awesome. So I
Yeah.
love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So we have just over 4 minutes left.
Uh-huh.
What you were, I think you were saying you have a workshop coming up starting on
Mhm.
Friday. I'd love for you to share about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a series. Every at the end of every month, I'm going to be hosting a lunchtime celebration circle. And I am so excited because it's free, it's no cost, all community, just having a time and space again on your calendar with people who also just want to claim, um, celebrate. So when we're talking about stepping into yourself as a leader, being more clear about who you are, finding your own strengths, huge part of that is claiming what has gone so well over the past whatever. So we're going to stop every month, at the end of every month, and say, what do I want to celebrate about this month? I want to claim it for myself. I want to claim it out loud. I want to claim it in support of a community that gets it and that we want to celebrate together. And then we're going to set some intentions for what we see next, as a result. So we'll be able, again, claim it. This is what I want to see happen over the next month, whatever it is you want to claim. So we're setting it up so that it's at the end of every month, not necessarily on the exact date, last day of every month. If you go to my Instagram, which is Angela_Herbert_White, there's a link in my bio that gets you to register for that workshop. Or you can email me, and I think you have the notes in there too, but I'll just say it's angelaherbertwhite@gmail.com. But you got to register for it because I want to make sure I know how many people are coming, and I want to make sure you get the Zoom link so that you can come and join us. There's people from all different places, who are going to join us, and we're going to be building the community as we go. And I mean, so many times lately, I've had people who kind of go, I guess if I stop and think about it, I really have done a lot of good stuff.
Mhm.
So you know what? We're going to stop and think about it
Yeah,
and claim it.
I love that because it's such an important part of staying intrinsically motivated too,
Yes.
right? Like, because you can get tired because you've done so much, but you're feeling a little tired because you think you don't realize it's because you've accomplished so much. Sometimes it feels like you just like we're just doing things, especially when
Yep.
you're like in the thick of it,
Yep.
and you finally pull your head up and you're like, "Holy crap, I did a lot!" And then nobody gets it that's necessarily in your circle. Like you don't necessarily say, "Hey, employees, this is what happened for me." They're like, "Okay, good for you." But having a group that is supportive and is just as excited to celebrate your wins with you is really vital. So I love that. And the intention setting for the following month. That's
Yes.
really key too. Putting
Yes.
that energy out there and letting the universe know, yes, this is what we're trying to manifest for the following month. So I love both of those, that concept.
Yeah, so then we'll have like kind of supportive accountability that comes into it too, right? If you keep coming each month and you can kind of like, oh, I want to be able to say I made progress in this area, right? With people who are not going to do this, but are also just going to be like, oh, this is so fantastic. It might have been small progress this month, but you made progress.
Right.
I mean, these can be big things, small things. Whatever. I'm thrilled that the last week I made sure that I had moved my body for at least 30 minutes every day in the past week, and that is huge, getting back on that track. So that's one of my things that I'm going to say on Friday.
Excellent. I love that. I have something similar, but not like on Clubhouse on Sunday evenings. I have a intention manifesting room where we share like what we're working on, and then but we meet weekly Sundays just to say like where have you come or what have you accomplished and what got you stuck and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more in depth with the whole accountability group thing, so that you want to show up and say, I did do this much. It's like,
Yes.
that's very helpful to have, and then have the support, because it's definitely a judgment-free zone and lifting people up and, helping them troubleshoot some things if need be. So
Absolutely. We all need that for sure.
yeah.
I'm going to check out. So the Clubhouse manifesting room.
Yeah, it's called, I'll send you the link.
Yeah,
Are you on
please.
Clubhouse? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not very active in Clubhouse, but I want to be more so. So this could be a good way to do that.
Segue into it, yeah.
I really just, the more we can do to help each other celebrate, claim, again, that's how we tap into our strengths. The things that we really get excited about are absolutely giving us clues as to our own identities, when we're true to ourselves too, and we get to do better work and have more joyful lives as a result. So
yeah, and I know we're just over time, but you can sometimes get stuck and not realize where, and somebody will ask you a question and it'll just click like, holy crap, I've been trying to do this, and this is why it's not working, because it's not me. So I love that. That's a beautiful group. I will put the link. I don't know if I have that. I'll put your Instagram link in the description so that people can find you.
Awesome.
Or register for that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, we'd love to grow that community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome sauce. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I'm so glad you hung out with me for a little bit.
Me too. Thank you so much. This has been great.
You're welcome. I'm glad. So anyone who is catching this after air date, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. If you need to reach out to Angela for anything, her information is in the description below. Make sure you like, subscribe, click the bell so you'll be notified anytime we go live or upload a new video. And until then, I'll see you next time. Ciao. Thanks again for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, and click the bell so you'll be notified anytime we upload a new video or go live. And as always, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to post it in the comments. We're always checking that. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day.